The man who made the world believe an easy charm wasn't smiling anymore. Matthew McConaughey, Hollywood's sun-tanned philosopher, Oscar winner, heartthrob, the man who could sell chaos with a wink, vanished from the spotlight almost overnight. What really happened to him? And why did the man who wants to find cool walk away from the very empire that worshipped him? Stay until the end, because behind the grin and the gold statues lies a story of faith, fame, and a man who almost lost his mind trying to find his soul. He had it all, or at least that's what the tabloids told you. By 2014, after his role in Dallas Buyers Club and the hypnotic brilliance of True Detective, McConaughey was Hollywood royalty. The Academy Award, the standing ovations, the McConaughey headlines. He was no longer the shirtless guy from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. He was an icon. But fame, like Texas heat, can burn everything it touches. Behind closed doors, the charming Southern gentleman was unraveling. Friends said he'd stopped sleeping. Assistants whispered about cryptic notes on his kitchen counter, Bible verses, quotes from his late father, and lines that simply read, "Find the truth before the truth finds you." For years, Matthew had been living two lives, the public preacher of peace and the private man at war with himself. It started small, a panic attack during a photo shoot in Los Angeles, a near breakdown on the set of Interstellar, and whispers that his sudden obsession with energy cleansing and silence wasn't just method acting. Some called it a spiritual awakening, others a midlife crisis wrapped in mysticism. He called it alignment. But in truth, he was lost. Hollywood's golden cowboy had begun to question everything. Why was he famous? Who was he without the applause? And why, after all the success, did he still wake up feeling empty? In 2016, Matthew retreated to Texas. He sold one of his Los Angeles properties, packed up his Airstream trailer, and moved his family into quiet hills outside Austin. It was supposed to be temporary, but months passed, then years. Cameras stopped following him, scripts stopped arriving, and the world began to ask, did Matthew McConaughey just quit Hollywood? Rumors spread faster than wildfire. TMZ called it McConaughey's breakdown. Others claimed his wife, Camila Alves, had given him an ultimatum: choose family or fame. One gossip site went even further, suggesting a mysterious health scare, a private clinic in Europe, and a vow to never act again. None of it was ever confirmed. But one thing was true. Matthew had disappeared. And for a man who once lived for the red carpet, that silence was louder than any scandal. In a rare 2018 interview, his eyes looked different. Not tired, deeper. When asked why he stepped away, he paused for a long time, then smiled, almost to himself. He said softly, "I just realized that the man I was playing off-screen wasn't that different from the ones I played on-screen, and that scared the hell out of me." The host laughed awkwardly, but Matthew didn't. He leaned forward, voice low, steady. Fame gives you everything until it takes your reflection. And with that, he ended the interview. No promotion, no follow-up, just walked away. Behind that cryptic calm was a truth no one saw coming. Hollywood thought he'd gone zen, but those close to him say the real reason for his silence wasn't enlightenment. It was escape. From the pressure, from the industry that wanted his smile, but not his soul. And from a secret that, if ever exposed, could rewrite everything the world thought it knew about Matthew McConaughey. By 2019, Matthew McConaughey had become a ghost in daylight. No premieres, no selfies, no Malibu brunch sightings, just rare paparazzi shots. Him barefoot on a Texas porch, reading a Bible, looking like a man who'd seen something he couldn't unsee. Hollywood called it spiritual detox. But inside his circle, people whispered a different word: breakdown. It began the night of his father's birthday. He'd been filming The Dark Tower, a project that drained him more than he'd ever admit. The movie flopped, critics called it soulless, and something inside him snapped. Friends say he stopped talking for days. He'd walk outside barefoot at 3 a.m., staring at the stars, murmuring to someone or something no one else could see. "Dad, I'm listening," he'd whisper into the wind. The truth was, Matthew had never truly healed from his father's death. James Donald McConaughey, an over-the-top oil man, had died suddenly in 1992, in bed with Matthew's mother. It was the most McConaughey way to go, the actor often joked. But behind the humor was a scar that never closed. For decades, Matthew carried guilt that he wasn't there, that he built an empire his father never saw. The world saw swagger. Inside, there was grief, still raw, still humming. Then came a call that changed everything. A journalist from a major outlet claimed to have sensitive material, old diary entries, voice notes, maybe more, from a source close to Matthew's early Hollywood years. They hinted at wild parties, broken friendships, and a dark night in 2001 that ended with hospital lights and police silence. No charges, no records, just rumors. His team panicked. His publicist quit. Matthew went completely silent. Instead of fighting back, he withdrew. He didn't deny it, didn't explain, didn't care. In his book, Green Lights, he'd later write, "Some truths don't need defending, they just need peace." But peace didn't come easily. For nearly 2 years, he barely acted. He turned down a role opposite Leonardo DiCaprio, refused Quentin Tarantino's call, and skipped an entire awards season. Hollywood doesn't forgive mystery, one insider said. They forgive scandal, but not silence. By 2020, fans began speculating. Was McConaughey done with acting? Had he joined a cult? Was he sick? Then, in one interview, he said something that broke the internet. "There was a time I couldn't look at a camera without hating what it showed me." That single line sparked a frenzy. YouTube analysts dissected every blink, every pause. Reddit threads exploded. Something happened in 2001. One blogger even claimed to have uncovered documents about a studio cover-up. Matthew said nothing. He just smiled. That calm, terrifyingly serene smile, and disappeared again. But behind that stillness, something was shifting. In Texas, he started teaching, not acting, life philosophy. Private sessions, small circles, mostly veterans and recovering addicts. He'd start each meeting the same way. First, write what you regret most, then thank it. No press was allowed, but those who attended said he was different, no longer charming, honest, as if the man who once lived to entertain had finally learned to speak without performing. By late 2021, McConaughey re-emerged, not on screen, but on the campaign trail. He flirted with running for Texas governor. The media left. But for him, it wasn't about politics. It was about redemption. "I don't need Hollywood to tell stories anymore," he told a crowd in Austin. "I've got my own to finish." The applause roared, but when cameras cut off, witnesses say he sat in his car for an hour, crying. Because behind the speeches, behind the calm, Matthew was still haunted by that night in 2001, and by the fear that the world would one day find out what really happened. He'd spent decades running from it. Now, it was time to face it. The year was 2001, long before the Oscars, before the book deals and spiritual talks, before anyone called it the McConaughey. He was 31, rich, reckless, and restless. Hollywood loved him, but didn't respect him. The studios called him the shirtless charm. The tabloids called him the beach boy philosopher. He laughed it off, but every joke carved a little deeper. He wanted to be more, but the world wasn't ready to listen. One night in October, the illusion cracked. Neighbors in Austin called the police. Noise complaint, laughter, music, then screams. What happened next became a legend and scar at once. When officers arrived, they found McConaughey naked, playing bongos in his living room, shouting scripture between beats. He was arrested for resisting transport and disturbing the peace. The mugshot hit every magazine. The smile in it wasn't defiance. It was panic in disguise. Hollywood laughed. Agents called it career suicide with rhythm. He became the punchline of late-night shows for months. But what few knew was what happened after the cameras stopped. The arrest wasn't about a wild party. It was about a man spiraling quietly. He'd lost 2 close friends to overdose that summer and had been self-medicating with pills and whiskey. That night wasn't rebellion, it was collapse. The sound of bongos wasn't celebration. It was an attempt to drown out the noise in his head. In later years, Matthew admitted only part of the truth. "I was high on the moment," he told Howard Stern, "and low on myself." But insiders say that after the arrest, his studio dropped 3 pending contracts. He spent nearly a year blacklisted, replaced by younger, safer faces. And that was when he started to disappear from the inside out. He moved back to Texas, stopped answering calls, started journaling. Every page ended with the same 2 words: just breathe. The silence frightened Hollywood. They thrive on control, and McConaughey was no longer playing the game. He refused rom-coms, refused PR coaching, and demanded scripts that smell like truth. The transformation confused everyone, but slowly it worked. He came back leaner, quieter, deeper. By 2011, he'd built a new identity, not as the golden playboy, but as the man who looked chaos in the eye and whispered, "All right." Still, that 2001 night never left him. Reporters kept digging, fans kept laughing, and he kept turning the memory into a lesson. He'd later tell college students, "If you don't design your own life, someone else will sell you theirs, and you'll pay for it with your peace." What they didn't know was that quote was born from a police cell in Austin, when a young man who had everything realized how fast everything can turn into nothing but noise. The McConaughey we see today, the calm preacher of balance, family, and gratitude, was built in that cell, not on that stage. And yet, every success afterward, Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, even his Oscar speech, was haunted by a single image: a barefoot man surrounded by broken glass and bongos, wondering if he'd just danced himself out of Hollywood forever. But he didn't. He rose from it. And that's when another challenge came. One that would test not his career, but his marriage, his faith, and the one rule he thought he'd never break again. Every redemption story needs a witness. For Matthew McConaughey, that was Camila Alves, the Brazilian model who walked into a Los Angeles club in 2006, wearing no makeup and a smirk that silenced the room. He says he knew before she even looked at him. What he doesn't say is that she met a man already standing on the edge. When they fell in love, Hollywood rolled its eyes. Matthew was the shirtless rebel. Camila was the calm after the storm. But behind closed doors, she was the only person who could say no to him and make it sound like love. She hid his car keys when he drank too much. She burned scripts she thought were beneath him. And when he spiraled into silence again in 2010, she moved them to Texas for good. Hollywood is a habit, she told friends. I want my husband back. For a while, it worked. Their ranch outside Austin became a fortress of family. Chickens, kids, and quiet sunsets. He'd read the Bible at dawn, make breakfast, and call her his anchor and boots. But success came knocking again. After Dallas Buyers Club, offers flooded in, and Matthew couldn't say no. One film bled into another, and Camila began to notice the old pattern. The nights away, the half smile, the just one drink lies. In 2016, after a rap party in New Orleans, a photo surfaced. Matthew at a bar, too close to a co-star. No affair was ever proved, but the headline didn't need proof. Camila's cowboy gone rogue. She saw it before he did. That night, she packed a bag and took the kids to a hotel in Austin. For the first time since they met, she turned off her phone. He found out through a friend.
She's gone, they said. Matthew drove 5 hours through the rain and waited outside the hotel for 2. When she finally walked out, he said nothing, just knelt in the parking lot and cried. Witnesses say she didn't speak either. She just put a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Then fix it." Fix it he did, but not overnight. He entered therapy for the first time, quit drinking for a year, and started journaling again. Friends say he wrote the same line every day. Discipline is freedom. He took their kids to school himself, learned to cook, and stopped taking roles that kept him away more than a month. Camila returned home after 3 weeks, but the trust took years. In public, they looked perfect again, but behind the Instagram smiles was a couple relearning each other from scratch. She made him earn every quiet moment back. He didn't argue, he just listened. "I used to chase freedom," he'd later say. "Now I chase peace." Their story never needed scandal to be real. It was 2 people trying to grow without outgrowing each other. And sometimes that's the hardest plot in Hollywood. By 2020, they renewed their vows privately in Hawaii. No press, no paparazzi, just the sound of waves and a promise whispered for the second time. Let's stay humble enough to start over again. But life was not done testing him, because the same year the world locked down, so did he. And for the first time since the bongo night, the voices in his head came back. The difference this time was that he wasn't alone, and he was ready to fight them honestly. By 2020, while the world hid indoors, Matthew McConaughey sat alone on his porch, staring into the dark. No cameras, no sets, no scripts, just silence. The same kind of silence that once broke him now became his teacher. He'd wake before sunrise, write 3 pages by hand, and watch the light crawl across the hills. Those pages became his memoir, Green Lights. What the public saw was a book of charming wisdom. What he really wrote was a confession. He later admitted, "I was addicted, not to drugs, not to fame,
to more. More work, more applause, more motion, until there was nothing left to move but the ache itself. In the stillness of that pandemic year, he saw the pattern. Every scandal, every mistake, every headline was just a reflection of the same hunger, the fear of standing still. So he stopped. He stopped chasing roles, stopped trying to prove he was deep, stopped needing to be anything other than a husband, a father, a man on a porch breathing Texas air. Then came the revelation, the one that changed everything. A letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just 2 words on the envelope. Green light. Inside was a single photograph, faded, sun-bleached, torn at the edge. It showed his father holding him as a child, standing beside an old pickup truck. On the back, in handwriting that wasn't his, were the words, "You finally slowed down enough to hear me." Matthew never revealed who sent it. Some say it was his mother. Others think it was staged by a friend. He calls it a wink from the universe. Whatever it was, that moment broke something open. He stopped being haunted by his father's death. He started talking to him, not in madness, but in gratitude. From then on, every interview, every speech carried a strange calm, the sound of a man who had finally forgiven himself. When asked about his lowest points, he'd laugh softly and say, they were just green lights in disguise. Hollywood called it a comeback. He called it alignment.
By 2023, he was back on set, but different. He refused PR notes, rewrote lines that didn't feel truthful, and spent more time mentoring young actors than performing. When a journalist asked why, he said, "Because I've already played my favorite role, the one where I stopped pretending." The industry didn't quite know what to do with that. Studios wanted the old McConaughey, the wild drawl, the whiskey charm, but he was done performing for applause. He'd become something else entirely, a mirror for the very fame that built him. By 2025, Matthew's world looked nothing like the one he once chased. He still lived in Austin, still kept the Airstream trailer behind his house, and still refused to move back to Los Angeles. But now, the silence wasn't exile. It was home. He taught at the University of Texas, walked his kids to school, and held long talks with students about art and integrity. He told them, if you ever get lost, don't run faster. Stop and listen. Some nights, neighbors still see him outside, barefoot, a glass of wine in one hand, notebook in the other. He'll look up at the stars and smile that same slow smile, the one that once sold perfume and car commercials. Only now, it means something different, because he's not acting anymore. He's just being. The tabloids say he turned into a recluse. They're wrong. He turned into himself. The man who once lived for the roar of the crowd now finds peace in crickets and wind. The boy who danced naked to forget the noise now dances quietly in gratitude for the silence. And the actor who once searched for roles finally found one that never ends. A man who kept walking even when the spotlight went out. He doesn't chase fame. He doesn't run from it either. He just lets it pass, like a long Texas sunset. Gold, quiet, inevitable. And if you ask him what his greatest lesson was, he'll grin and say, "Don't mistake movement for meaning. Sometimes the light turns green when you learn to stop."